Crank it up.
Okay, then.
So we're a little bit behind. Who cares? Whiskey first.
Whiskey first.
Is that you or me? Babe.
Thank you.
Drink up. It's going to be a long, drawn out show tonight. But we're able, with our combined experience and dedication, to always take these shows at the last minute when things parry. They come straight at us and we just completely go the direction we need to find a way.
We do. For all of you who've been practicing your endurance, you're working that into your fitness routines, that's going to come in handy tonight because you are going to endure throughout this episode. It's going to be absolutely worth it. For those of you with the volume up, before you have a picture, be sure to share this live feed to your page or profile. You can do that right now. It'll be up on camera here in just a second.
How come we're not showing on, are we on everybody? How's it looking? Are we on all channels?
It says we are.
Outstanding.
What are you not seeing?
Possibly X. Let's go check.
It shows that.
Stand by. Ah, here it is.
Good evening, Rick and Deb in North Idaho. We're going to get going here in just a minute. Why does that do that? You know, this track, it loops, and I'm talking right now because it automatically loops, but there's that gap in between. And I had yet, it's a built-in track I have yet to go in and customize. For anybody who has critiques on Dan's face, just feel like the urgent need to tell him to smile more. Well, oh, look.
Here, Scott, just for you.
Look. It fits so well. What do you say, with a body like yours or something like that?
You got a face made for radio?
I don't know.
With a face like yours, you have a face for radio.
No, I think he said a smile so much more fitting for you.
Oh, I'm an angry bird.
Anyway, I'm going to keep it moving along here.
But he has no problem sitting by and watching a woman get battered. That's what kills me.
She had it coming to her.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that what they say? Isn't that what all the good Republican conservatives say? She had it coming to her. Welcome to the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast. We are the only live, local, liberty-minded program right here in Kootenai County. And some people say, well, what's with all the negativity? All you do is stir the pot. Why are you so negative? Well, because that's why we're here to expose corruption.
And yet here you are.
We're here to expose corruption, so that is kind of what we do, and so that is the tone of what we do. We try to keep it lighthearted. We do believe we have good senses of humor. We weave that in every once in a while, but you got to stay on task. We expose political power players, politicians, social influencers, power-playing pastors who are going to continue to crop up here and there right here in Kootenai County. We're your hosts, Dan and Dawna Wilson. I'm here to screen your questions and comments throughout the program. You can text or leave a voicemail at 208-366-4671. That number's ticking across the bottom of your screen right now. Or just Stay involved right there in the comment section with your questions or comments. We will respond to those in certain cases in real time, if it applies, if it makes sense, if it's keeping us on track. Otherwise, you guys can have fun engaging with each other in the comment section. That's always fun for me to watch that. And reminder again, if you're watching live, be sure to click the share button. Share this feed to your page or profile. And if you're listening back on our podcasts, be sure to catch us live every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. so you can engage in the conversation. In opinions expressed are ours only, not necessarily that of any of our advertisers, sponsors, affiliates, guests, and any of you in the comments section. We understand that. And those of you who are secretly watching under your fake burner profiles, because we know you are, because we told you who we were going to be talking about tonight, and we said, go tell them. Go tell Stephanie Fetzer we're going to talk about her. Go tell John Padula. Go tell him, Aaron Barnard.
That Mike P. Tune.
Oh, boy. Tonight, he's already going, guys. Tonight on Liberty Without Compromise, a local incident turns into a political weapon almost overnight. A man is arrested after allegedly threatening law enforcement and damaging property at the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. And within hours, a narrative begins forming, one that attempts to tie us directly to his actions. No evidence, just implications. So tonight, we're going to slow it down. We'll walk through what actually happened leading up to the incident, the behavior, the timeline, the contact, and what was known versus what's now being pushed publicly, a false accusal of what's happening. Because this isn't just about one incident, it's about how quickly narratives can be built, amplified, and accepted as truth before the facts ever catch up. We're also going to be covering cybersecurity concerns inside Kootenai County, new questions surrounding John Padula's financial track record, and leadership risk. Is it a risk? And a closer look at the tactics being used in today's local political landscape. It's what we do. This is Liberty Without Compromise. And we don't deal in speculation, as sometimes people say. We don't do that. We have documentation. I'm Dawna Wilson, and now here's your host, Dan.
Are you ready for tonight? Episode 66. Guaranteed to be a long broadcast tonight. Get your popcorn, get your favorite scotch. Better yet, get a good cigar from Stella Stogies up in Spirit Lake. Get a nice beverage, sit back and take notes. We get asked quite a bit, what can we do? We're discouraged. We see all the things that are going on in our county that we thought was a secure place, and we're finding out how much corruption and rot is here. What can we do? Don't lose hope, first and foremost. I want you to stay encouraged, because the only way that the rot fully takes on and destroys everything in this county is for those of you out there that are watching to give up and to quit talking about what's going on, to refuse to be bullied by those people that are not principled conservatives, not principled to be a patriot of the Constitution, which isn't just guns and running and, doing all the cool, don't tread on me. It's standing for the rule of law and giving everyone equal protection, period. As John Locke said, the founders quoted him. All men are created equal under God, and each man has equal worth. Each man has the right to life and liberty and property, aka also the pursuit of happiness. If you want to preserve that right here in your county, which you can affect change, then you have to dig in. You have to find those that are on this broadcast in the comment sections and those that you see on social media that are not towing the line of those that are just conservatives, just Republicans, just MAGA, because they identify with a bunch of cool people. Find those that are not buying hook, line, and sinker everything that the Republican Central Committee is telling them, or the North Idaho Republicans, or Candlelight Church, or Bob Norris, or Jim Putman, Tim Remington, John Padula, Dan Gookin. Dan, by the way, I find it interesting that a guy that is the mayor of Coeur d'Alene is frequently liking posts that are controversial, giving your thumbs up of approval. Well, Dan, are you paying attention that maybe you're giving thumbs up to things that are defamatory? How about as Coeur d'Alene mayor, you just basically don't be doing that crap? Or are you so tight with Stephanie Fetzer and the candlelight people now? You remember Stephanie Fetzer that couldn't stand you a mere couple months ago before she helped get you elected. Do better, Dan Gookin. I expect better out of you. Now back to my friends. Find those people that aren't buying hook, line, sinker what's going on with these Neanderthals, these ideologues. Start networking. Reach out. Talk. Discover what you can be doing in your own community. And for those of you that don't know what to do, we're going to be giving you ideas in the weeks to come on what you can do to affect change no matter what your skill set is. You won't want to miss it. We have a lot to talk about tonight. What do we got, Dawna? Are you on camera or did I get you?
I mean, I can be on camera now.
All right.
I'm always like turning and doing and reading.
Somebody's sending you something.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. Reminder, you can get involved right there in the comment section, and a bunch of you just hopped on in the last couple of minutes. So amplify the message, share this feed to your page or profile, and then stay involved right there in the comments. I think we already talked about what we've got coming up. I know a lot of you may have joined to find out more on our response or what our response is going to be for some accusations that are flying around when it comes to the McClintock incident that took place on Saturday, Saturday, April 4th. That'll be coming up here a little bit later in the program, so we want you to stick around for that. I don't want you to think that we forgot, but we're getting to it, and it's quite meaty. There is quite a lot there. Mm-hmm. It's not just a flyover. And here's what Dan and I, we talked about this in advance. I said, what I don't want to do is get on and say, we categorically deny anything, and you should just believe us. Mm-hmm. Believe us, because certainly over the last couple of years, we proved that we're honest, trustworthy, and we bring evidence to the table. So we made sure that we did a lot of preparation and really talked long and hard, got what I believe is some extraordinary advice. So we've got some good things coming up in that segment where not only are we responding to that, but we're backing it up with
documents.
Yes.
Yeah. And how many of you guys, let's be honest, how many of you are continually standing up for Trump? He was accused of being with the porn actress and raping her, but he didn't do it. You're just smearing him. And he was with those Charlottesville people, and he's not a white supremacist. You know, how dare you? Guilt by association. He happened to be mentioned in the same article. And all you fools out there, you hypocritical fools, and we're going to show many of you hypocritical fools, or shall we not even call you fools? Let's call you what you really are: dishonest, liars. We'll see how all of a sudden it changes, and you're okay for jumping and making accusations and saying that people are guilty by association. You guys would have crucified Jesus, is my absolute honest belief. Your actions, the way you are right now, you would crucify the Savior and you'd sit on your little high horse because it's justified. Your actions, the means justify the ends. And we're going to be showing in greater detail those of you that are fools and or dishonest at best. Now, talking about dishonesty. For the past several weeks, I have brought to you story after story on John Padula. But before that, we're going to talk about last week. I brought to you guys my belief that from reports that I had received from inside Kootenai County Sheriff's Office and Kootenai County, that the county had suffered a cyber attack. And, you know, we talked about why this is potentially bad. Among other things, what was compromised? We weren't told that it was a actual cyber attack publicly, as I have found. We had inside memos saying it was maybe a cyber event and maybe a backup server failed to fire. But we believe that something did indeed happen. We're going to play this first video here and let you see what happened this week at the Kootenai County Board of Commissioners meeting. What this individual had to say. So let's go ahead and play that video.
We'll start with item 39, and that is Agreement for Services, Cybersecurity, Crow LLP with Information Technology, and Grant Kinsey.
Thank you, Commissioners. Grant Kinsey, Network Admin for the record. I just want to thank you for getting this in under short notice. What this is just an agreement with the cyber forensic team we're working with. Time is of the essence that we get this agreement in place so that they can begin work on a cyber event we're looking into. We do not have a legal opinion on this yet. That is out to legal. What I would ask is that pending a legal opinion that we would be able to pass this back to the board and get it signed. Basically what's going on is this is all coordinated ahead of time through ICRIMP, and ICRIMP has a deductible for us. I believe the deductible is set at $10,000, and anything, you'll see numbers on here that are higher than that, but we meet our deductible and then it gets taken care of. So the outstanding cost that you'd be looking at on this agreement is $10,000 potentially.
Thank you. Questions?
Nope.
Motion?
I move that we approve the agreement for services with Crow LLP and Information Technology pending legal review
And approval.
and approval.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline?
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chairman Tari?
Aye. Motion carries.
This was just yesterday, Crow LLP, and I apologize. I actually grabbed screenshots to give you guys some visuals, but you can find them, CROWE-LLP. Some of the things they specialize is dealing with cyber events and how to mitigate those events and kind of how to fix the PR. So they are a fixing organization. Now, why should you be concerned? Well, because we've been telling you for a long time how dangerous all of this technology is. And, it's cute and fine. Everybody claims, you got a phone. What do you have to worry about? Well, when government has your information, it can oftentimes be even worse because there are things that you give or that the government has in their possession that some of these private companies do not have, like law enforcement. Now, Bob Norris has been pushing for quite a while the LPRs, which we were able to finally get those shot down. So right now, Kootenai County Sheriff's Office is not using LPRs and storing data, but we're going to talk about how Post Falls is doing this in Coeur d'Alene coming up shortly. We want to know what kind of breach took place, and more importantly, what information was stolen. Because cyber attacks typically involve either attempting to disable systems, to take systems over, or breach data. I think that the Kootenai County Commissioners should probably be leveling with people pretty quick to tell us what this event truly was. If we, the citizens of Kootenai County, have had any of our information breached, and what the game plan is going forward. You see, this is becoming more and more prominent all of the time, and the more of your digital security you give away to the government, the more those chains will come around you and bind you. We're going to talk about Post Falls and their use of a system that I was not aware of that they had. You might be concerned about it. We're going to talk about how they use that system when they went to look for Ryan McClintock when he carried out his crimes on Saturday. But in the meantime, Bob Norris, he is very, very concerned that people in Kootenai County are getting high or injured from kratom. Now, I've seen kratom in all sorts of stores in Kootenai County and other places for quite a while. I roughly know what it is, but it's sold over the counter. Some people say it has medicinal purposes for chronic pain. Some say it's relaxing. But right now, it is a legal product right here in the state of Idaho. Let's see what Bob Norris had to say, and I'm going to set the stage. Bob Norris, the sheriff of Kootenai County, comes to the Board of County Commissioners in a public comment portion of the Board of County Commissioners. Didn't send him an email, didn't get put on their agenda, but he wanted to come and address this before the county commissioners. Take a look at Bob, listen to what he says, how nonsensical it is. Watch Bruce Matari's curt responses on 2 occasions to him, and you won't want to miss this.
Commissioners, I would just like to bring something to your attention, Robert Norris, that is hitting my desk, has hit the coroner's desk, and some other municipalities close to us, but like to for us to have a further discussion on kratom. And kratom, it failed in our Idaho legislature for a bill, but kratom is going to be a problem for this community. Kratom is sold over the counter at this time, but we suspect in a future legislative session that they will restrict it. But we're starting to see some impacts of kratom, and there's no restrictions on who can buy it, how much they can buy, and just like to put that on your radar.
Is that something that is actionable for this board?
Well, some municipalities have
I
put
know
an
cities
ordinance against
have.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that we put it on our radar and we
On our radar.
consider something in the future.
Does that mean banning it in the county?
That's the way that I'm looking at it.
I mean, if that's what you want, that's fine. It's just I want to understand what it is that we're supposed to be thinking about.
Right. Yeah, it's,
Banning or restricting?
I think that that's part of the discussion, but in my opinion, probably banning. And I believe that in time, the Idaho legislature will ban the substance. But getting there might take us a little bit of time.
So just off the top of my head, I would like to have these conversations. I want to look at the bill that
Right.
was not passed. But my concern is if you ban it in the county and people are still buying it in the cities, doesn't necessarily help you. And it also kind of damages some of the business owners in the county. So if we could get together with at least our three big cities and have that discussion about restriction or banning, that would probably be a better way to go.
Right. I'm having members of the public, even members of the business community that are saying that we have customers that aren't the same that they were 45 days ago once they started buying this stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that it's going to be a problem for our county.
What?
I think it's something that
I don't
we
know,
should be
man.
aware of and continue a conversation on.
Okay. Somebody do a.
We'll start
Oh,
with item.
does that, did we
No,
both-
we're done. Let's do a public records request.
did you hit a
Asking
button at
Bob.
the same time?
Maybe. Bob, tell us exactly who these businesses are. Now, Bob wants to have the county ban a substance that maybe the other cities, Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene, Hayden, haven't got that way. So rather than wait for the state to pass legislation, kind of like the fact that that's what they do is they set the standard. They're the parent. Bob wants to, it's on our radar. We need to look at it and get it banned right here in Kootenai County. Well, Leslie Duncan, who is actually smart, asks Bob, well, what good's that going to do if you ban it in the county, but it's not banned in, Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, Rathdrum, those things. And Bob, this is what's funny. Bob says that the people selling the stuff, get this, okay? Bob says, he just stated, I'm even having business owners that are selling it, telling us that their customers are coming back 45 days later, and they're just not the same people. This dude, man.
Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, I saw that. I bust out laughing. I'm like, that's the most nonsensical, typical Bob healing from the hip.
Okay, I know you're not necessarily, I don't got buy-in from you on this one, but I just read this yesterday that there's another sheriff in a different county in the state of Idaho, so not Kootenai County, that is going after the same thing. So I would love for somebody to look into this topic because it seems like there's a bigger story here. I don't know who's profiting from it, what's really behind it, what's driving that. But if you start to see county sheriffs moving in unison toward wanting to ban a substance like this, there's going to be the portion of you that says it's because they're lawmen and they understand that this is causing issues.
Well,
in
maybe
the
it's
county.
cutting into Vito Barbieri's
That's what I'm
vaping
like.
business, because Vito Barbieri has what, 4 or 5 vape shops in town.
So I just want to
So
know.
maybe it's Vito.
I just want to know.
Or you might
It's
ask
maybe.
Jordan Redmond, who last year introduced
The
medical
substance
cannabis.
is kratom.
Yeah.
Lee Spencer on Facebook came into the conversation late, so is that how you pronounce it? Kratom.
Kratom. I don't know.
Not sure, but yeah, we just had a clip of Bob Norris coming into the comment portion in front of the Board of County Commissioners, proposing that you start to move for legislation to ban this substance in the county, and so
Look, I
that's
have
where it
a
is.
problem right off the bat
Yeah.
with towns or counties attempting to legislate what the state should be doing.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there are certain things that they're well within their right to limit, but when it comes to what we sell, products, I mean, I don't know how some of that stuff passes constitutional muster. But
Well,
again,
and you
I'm
need
not
it-
a lawmaker.
You got to have a lot more information, research, studies, analytics,
Because
statistics.
you're cutting people's ability to sell, so you're messing with their commerce,
Yeah.
and you're messing with people's right to enjoy something that is currently legal.
And where's the evidence to support what we're talking about in people's change of behavior? Because are we going to start saying that about nicotine? Like, how far does that go? And I don't know.
Well, it might
I'm
be a
just
bad
asking the
product.
question.
I don't know,
Yes,
but
I'm
let
asking the
state
questions.
deal with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right, keep going.
So let's talk about Padula and dishonesty. For several weeks, we have shown you the various issues with Padula starting back in February. By the way, local Kootenai County Elections Office. I'm still waiting. It's been, almost 2 months now, at least 6 weeks, where we posed the question. John Padula took $4,000 in his 2024 campaign designated for the general election. John Padula did not make it past the primary, and there is no record that I have been able to find that shows that Padula, up to February of this year, had returned any of those $4,000 contributions back to the original contributor. So we filed this question with the Secretary of State, have not received any kind of a response on it yet, other than it's being investigated. I don't know how hard it is to investigate. Padula, what'd you do with the money? Where's it at? What are you doing? Again, if it was a no big deal, they should be able to provide that information pretty quick. Now, second of all, we brought to you the fact that Padula had received illegal contributions by $1,000, receiving contributions from a business owner that owned 2 businesses that had donated from 2 of his companies. And he returned that rather than put it towards the general election, which makes us speculate that he doesn't think that he's going to win the primary. But we have yet another thing that has come up. Now, let's go to our slide page number 1. This was brought to us by a pretty smart viewer. This text chain is the Altar Church, or should I say Cataldo Lighthouse Ministries, its official legal Secretary of State name, doing business as the Altar. Their mass text notification chain came out yesterday at 5:06 p.m. Altar family. Volunteers needed. If you are willing to knock on doors for John Padula's campaign, please contact him at 208 blah, blah, blah. Now go to page 2. According to the IRS, which we're going to establish that this is an actual 501c3 company sending out this text through the church. Under the IRS code, all sections of 501c3 organizations are absolutely prohibited from directly or indirectly participating in or intervening in any political campaign on behalf of or in opposition to any candidate for elective public office. Not Dan Wilson. It's what the official IRS has to say. Now, according to the Kootenai County Assessor's Office, the Altar Church, which resides at 901 East Best Avenue in I almost said Spokane. You can tell how many years I lived in Spokane.
Oh, you just told on
I'm
yourself.
from California. How dare I come
You
to
just
Kootenai
told
County?
you just told on yourself.
901 East Best Street Avenue. The official owner of that property is Cataldo Lighthouse Ministries. And what is Cataldo Lighthouse Ministries? Well, in 1993, the organization filed with the Secretary of State their articles of incorporation, and they say in Article 5 that they, as a corporation, shall not participate in or intervene in, including the publishing or distribution of statements in the political campaign on behalf or any candidates for public office. Their own bylaws say you can't do this. So that's a little odd. So the question is, why does John Padula continually have all of these issues where he's not following campaign law? You got a guy that's running for county commissioner. This is not his first race. It's his second race. He has advisors. We know that from his disclosure reports that he was paying consultants a lot of money last time when he ran in 24. If you're going to be running for these positions, you would think that you would be able to stack yourself with competent people. But more importantly, he also is kind of doubly at fault because he also is a pastor at the altar. Remember, churches are not required to report their earnings to the IRS. Pastors, I don't know the extent of, or their structure, how much of their income they have to report, but they are receiving a salary, my belief, from these organizations that they are pastors, both Tim Remington and John Padula. John is running, of course, for Kootenai County Commissioner, seat District 1. And you have Tim Remington, who is a former appointed state legislator. So these guys should know the rules by now. They are not new into the ministry, and yet apparently the rules don't apply to them. Don't you think that they have bylaws and policies inside their church that say, hey, just so we're clear, we are a very politically active church. We have town halls here. We do all sorts of things, and we host events, but we don't promote anybody. We allow people to use our building, but we are prohibited by law and morally and ethically to not violate our tax exempt status. I mean, if you're going to say that we are tax exempt, government, stay the hell out of our business. Don't tell us what to do. You can't look at what we're earning. Then don't be a hypocrite and violate the terms of the 501c3. But Padula, my belief, is actually a very grave risk to this county if he is elected. We've had a couple conversations about this, but as we are unrolling more and more about John, one of the things that I am personally concerned about is I hear over and over and over, and Dawna, you can jump in on this.
Yeah, I wanted to respond to something Amber saying in a comment on Facebook. Thanks for joining us tonight. Partly, I get what you're saying, but I want to challenge it a bit. She's been interjecting, of course, he's a liability or could be a problem because he doesn't really have education for this position. So he could be breaking the law because he doesn't know how to do the job. That's in essence. You guys can read.
Well, I'll tell you why I don't agree with that.
Well, yeah.
So okay,
kind of where I was going with it.
This is more or less where I will come out and say that I don't believe that's a good argument. The county has attorneys, and if you watch any of the county commissioner meetings, there are county attorneys like Darren Murphy that are at the council's beck and call. In fact, oftentimes they have counsel that is flanking them up at the podium when they are getting ready to rule on things, and they will advise them. So, you learn the job, and it's the same thing with sheriff. All the fools out there that want to continue to say, you have no experience, 7 years as a reserve officer. You couldn't be. Well, you idiots don't pay attention to the fact that it's an elected position. Once again, the state doesn't require any law enforcement experience. That's why you guys keep electing, you don't want me to say turds. Imbeciles. To the local county government.
The point is, you don't operate. You don't even run for office. You don't even run a campaign in a vacuum. You have advisors. Padula did the same thing 2 years ago. He's learned from that. I mean, I don't care. There's plenty of education to happen from life experience. So I'm not even going to dog on somebody that whatever 7th grade education. I mean, for some of us didn't do, we made it through 12th grade, but depending on the school you went to or who was teaching you, it's like, okay, that's all up for debate. But like just exactly what you're saying, you don't function in a vacuum, and you have advisors who know that job, who know how to campaign, who know what the rules and regulations are. So I would challenge these guys who are running this through using a church resource for political purposes. And I mean, I can have the opinion, or would just throw out there that, there's a likelihood that they know exactly what they're doing, but the follow through from the Secretary of State has been so abysmal that they know they can do it and then ask forgiveness later. They can do it and there's a warning that's issued and there's an, oh, whoops. They can do it and use every resource necessary and say, all that matters right now is my eye is on the prize. I win that seat. And if I pay $1,000 fine, I pay $1,000 fine.
Yeah, 'cause
everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
So you've got pastors not holding themselves to the same, the like low level standard as any other greasy politician running for office, because they're like, hey, if you got to play their game in order to win.
Like Padula is appearing to raffle off guns. I mean, there's some kind
Whatever,
of giveaway.
all that,
Same thing
yeah,
again. Okay,
yeah.
so I'll say this before we're going to talk about really why the citizens should be concerned.
There's more. Hang on, because there's more in this Padula problem.
When it comes from legal and parliamentarian,
Oh,
can't even say the word.
I don't know. That's
Parliamentarian.
I don't
thank
even
you.
know. Okay.
Rules. Yeah, some of those are learned, and you have counsel there to advise you. But here is where it is concerning, because at the end of the day, the 3 commissioners, including the one that happens to be the friend of Sheriff Bob Norris and his special deputy, the one that is in both offices, they vote. And this is why you should be concerned, is what is the judgment and the discernment of the person, the 1/3 vote that gets to cast a vote. And that is where it starts chaffing and rubbing you wrong, especially as we're seeing right now with Bob Norris getting anything he wants in the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, including his $2.5 million overtime budget increase, because Captain Heil isn't smart enough to figure out the math and to ask accordingly in the beginning. But that's another story. John Padula, why could he be a very big risk for the county? Because of his past. And this is where I was going to come back and say, you feel these questions all the time, but he's saved.
He's redeemed.
How dare you?
He's a different man.
Sanctified.
I'm here to tell you he's a different man. That's his past. Let the past be in the past. Everybody deserves a second chance. Boy, I'll tell you what, you and I have had some heated conversations, not arguing with each other necessarily, but some heated conversations on that, vetting it out. Because when I hear public opinion, I do, contrary to what some people might think, I'm just not so staunch in whatever my perspective is that I'm unwilling to listen, or that I'm unwilling to listen to those of you who say, look, I went through the program. I've been counseled under him. I've known him for X number of years. He's a good man. I am paying attention. But also I think that so many of those comments are coming from a place of emotion, and it actually compromises the more you know him and you have that emotional investment, it compromises you more as a person who's able to say, let's talk about some other aspects of this. Let's look at his past from a different angle. So not judgment, not that he needs to continue to pay some kind of price, assuming he's, retribution. He's done his sentence and even had salvation level redemption. It doesn't exonerate you from a lifetime of consequences based on those actions. And that's more where I'm coming from, and where I want to challenge everybody to just slow it down, set your emotion aside, and just think about this. Cause I'm going to leave this to Dan to interject a little bit later. But if you're ready to say, here's this one guy, Padula, who I'm just going to give blanket, he's been redeemed by the blood of the Lamb, and we're doing this thing. Start thinking about who else you'd be willing to do that for, who you would trust.
Oh, you mean like Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah, I did,
If
yeah.
Jeffrey Epstein were
It's
alive
like-
today and he
I'm like-
repented,
That's
and
like-
miraculously didn't go to prison because apparently there was no crimes committed, according to Donald Trump and the DOJ. There is no real Epstein list, but we all know it, but we kind of don't know it, but we know it. And he says, I'm redeemed. I turn my life over to the Lord. Would you then allow that guy? He's been redeemed by your own, words, and maybe 5-10 years go by. Would you let him, teach Sunday school for 5-year-olds or young teens or young college age women? Would you let him do that? What's your excuse as to why? Well, you can't allow that to happen. I mean, if you guys use this constant get out of jail free, which is anybody can do whatever they want. We know because Tim Remington has been caught on recording saying these very things. By the way, we're going to be playing here very shortly, not tonight, but the second half of the undercover audio that was taken of Tim Remington, where he really tells people what he truly thinks about pedophiles and having them work in the church, people that were previously, convicted sex offenders. We're going to play the rest of that conversation, including what he had to say about John Padula and John Padula's wife. So you're not going to want to miss that. That will be coming up. But right now, let's go ahead and play this audio. This audio, just to set it up, was taken from a podcast that John Padula was on right after COVID. We're going to put the QR link up there because all of you are going to say, well, you're taking it out of context. How dare you? No, we're doing it for brevity tonight to show you the main points. And then we're going to talk about why one of the other major reasons that John Padula is a risk to this county if he becomes commissioner.
It's coming. Just hang on there and get a good look
got
at
into
him.
gangs, started selling speed and crystal, glass, ice, all of that type of stuff they had down there. I ended up on meth for 17 years from the age 13 to 30. I'd use methamphetamines and pretty much everything else, but that was kind of the main thing that I used. Got into dealing heavy. Some of my friends were cooking meth, and I started cooking meth with some of them. I was always getting arrested, always in trouble. I had no care for women. God radically changed my life, and not progressively in the blink of an eye. I was a different person. The rage, the violence, the anger, the foul mouth, the pornography. I was bound by pornography for 21 years. Not to be graphic, but I would, be sexual with women, sometimes multiple women at once. And when I would leave, I would still be driving in my car looking at DVD players with pornography playing in my car plugged into my cigarette lighter. Wow. I mean, just bound by sexual perversion. And for 21 years.
Floored at what God can do in a person's life. Like, it's amazing.
I couldn't have kids. I've been with almost 1,000 women, not safe. When I was in prison for 6 years, I had some pain in my
region.
Yes.
He had been with almost 1,000 women.
Okay, hold that thought. The QR code to the full podcast with that host. I don't recall the gal's name, but you'll find it there. QR code, click on that link and you can hear that full podcast. Because like Dan said, we're not here to split hairs over whatever we took out of context.
I'm not saying that he's not converted.
That audio clip,
repented. Yeah,
true. That audio clip was edited. Yes, we are doing the groundwork for you. You can go listen to the whole episode there. Continue.
So here's the real issue. It is the sins from the past can come back to haunt the future. So here's a couple things that we as Kootenai County citizens should be very concerned about. Number one is he says almost 1,000 women. I mean, that number in 20 years, I think 15 or 20 years is an astronomical amount. Sometimes he said it was multi-women at one time. Well, the question I have is who out there knows that they had been with John, whether it was forced or not, we don't know. I'm not saying that was, just to be clear, but there was sex that occurred by John's own admission. A lot of women in this region here. Were any of them underage?
Now, you've taken heat for this because that's not the first time you've asked that question.
It's damn well a absolutely necessary question.
That's my argument. I mean, there's women who are covering for him and thinking, how dare you implicate this guy Well, you're listening to John Padula in his voice talking
Voluntarily
about,
give those statements.
he said 1,000 women or nearly 1,000.
Yeah.
Whatever the statement was. Look, he is running for public office. You're talking about a guy who's looking to control a third of the budget in the county. And when we're talking about somebody being a liability, I mean, there's the question of, it begs the question, there's a potential liability when statistically you're talking that many people that somebody has been intimate with. And
any of them pregnant?
Yeah, that was a question I said to Dan. Like, you could argue it's statistically impossible that he didn't procreate 1,000 women, sometimes multiples at the same time.
Oh, you use protection. You use Trojans or something.
And that's what, I mean, that's the narrative we're going to go with. So again, okay, you're redeemed. So let's just take that at face value that the guy is never going to lie again. Except you and I already know that that is not true because we have observed him flat out lying and continuing to lie when he was met with irrefutable evidence and still continue to lie.
To us and to the people.
I'm like, that's all I need to know, that you're dealing with a guy that he's willing to do it. You could say on the small stuff regarding a political opponent, he's willing to do it.
How many people, once they see him in a position of the county, decide to come out of the woodwork, even if it's not even true or the statutes of limitation are down.
I agree. He's
again,
boastful.
The guy, the guy is a liability. I'm talking to you. I don't need to talk to them.
No,
he's a liability. Oh, here you go, Scott.
No, it's a burner profile, but yeah, I agree. Here's what's funny is we are making this argument because we're taking what John Padula said at face value, but I will interject. I think he's full of boop, boop. I think he's full of it. I think he wants to tell a damn good story. And so he's putting a damn good story out there. So all we can do now is create an argument based on the story he's putting out there, which is all of this, it is predatory history. He's not just a guy that did drugs. He's cooking them. He's selling them. He's in bed with multiple women at the same time, slept with almost 1,000 women.
You want to listen to where
he has left a trail of flaming wreckage.
Yeah.
You can't just
be a recovery
religiously redeemed from that and not have consequences. Yeah. It still does. Yeah. Well, and I know I cut you off mid thought.
The QR code again for those that want to listen to its entirety, listen to everything that he says in his own words. And you know what? I have no doubt he had a tough childhood.
Yes.
I have no doubt that, once he started down that path, it was a long, hard road. I get that. I absolutely believe in salvation. I do believe that John was converted. But at the same time, we have experienced firsthand his dishonesty. We know that other things are coming that we'll be talking about next week with him and John, with him and Tim, rather. And by the way, there has been a recent article by Julie Roys on the Roys Report, julieroys.com.
March 26th.
We should put that QR code up. This is relevant to Kootenai County, folks, because it's a expose on Calvary Chapel, Spokane, Ken Ortiz, basically covering up the many sins of his son over a long period of time. And instead of firing him, moves him up to Sandpoint. Son causes problems in Sandpoint. They move him back to the Spokane campus, and his son's wife is 100% split from him. They are getting a divorce. The things that were alleged mirror up with what congregates and other staffers had seen the behavior of the son. But guess who the wife of Ken Ortiz's son was sent to be counseled with? Anybody got a guess? One guess. I'll wait here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tim Remington. Calvary Chapel, Spokane, sent daughter-in-law to the altar to Tim Remington to have Tim Remington give counseling. And what do they all say? We all know what they say. Well, you can't divorce under any circumstance. I mean, if that's what Paul Vanoy does.
According to her, because I did the article, I put the QR code up in the corner, and this is some good side reading tomorrow morning, whatever. when you're walking on the treadmill. But what that gal, the now ex-wife of this pastor's son, who he put into a power position at Calvary Chapel Spokane, what she testifies to now is years of heinous abuse. And again, this is her testifying, and this has gone through courts of law, and it's her public testimony, and then also what she's submitted to Royce Report, the investigative research there. But that Tim Remington, what she says is, gave her every which way around why it was her fault. That was the counseling she, according to her, right, received from Tim Remington.
Oh, by the way, when I was a not real cop, because I apparently never was, at Spokane PD, I actually, this is going back almost 15 years ago, went to a incident at the Ortiz's place. So keep that in mind. I actually have seen it up close and in person. That's all I'll say about that. John Padula should not be anywhere near Kootenai County Board of County Commissioners, not in that seat. I'm not saying that I at all support his opponent, because as we understand it, the opponent is managed by Carla and Bruce Matari.
Well, and that therein lies the problem, because you've got an opponent that I'm sure is like, yes, let me just sit back while the Wilsons tear this guy to shreds, or at least bring forward evidence and make a logical argument for why he is not fit for office. And so, of course, that by default then benefits his opposition.
Yeah. It's a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
But I feel it very important, especially, I don't know anything about this Julie Hensley.
Yeah.
But there are things that Padula has done in the past that I think absolutely, and again, personal experience with him. If he was that nefarious with us for no reason, then how can he be trusted for the rest of the county? And I'll finally say, we noticed things started changing when it was reported that Bob Norris and him were hunting last fall for bear. Also, Padula, and we'll bring that recording out one of these days, bragged that Judge Randall and County Prosecutor Stan Mortensen both encouraged him to run. And they both knew him from his old Law and Order days, or his wrong side of the law days.
And just to recap briefly, if it got lost in translation there, because it's a little bit broken up, I think, with some rants and interjection on my part, but if it's at all lost as to why, at least I'm saying that John Padula's a liability to this county, is it has nothing whatsoever to do with a redemption story. Some of you in the comments are saying, I think he pumped up his criminal history and past history because,
like Paul Van Noy?
Because it sounds then like if my past is this much worse, then my redemption is just even that much greater. And it emotionally manipulates people. It just does. So some of these people can be very rehearsed at doing that. They know that it's a winning formula in the religion business. Why is he not fit for office? Because if you take him at his word for the history that he is presenting to you, and we had you listen to that audio clip from another podcast he was on, Dan said shortly after COVID, that history is so heinous that it includes all sorts of abuses. So again, just keep an open mind for what the word abuses means, that when you're cooking and selling drugs, this isn't just you hurting yourself because you're purchasing and doing drugs. That right there, you're involving other people. He has scarred and manipulated countless people just through that channel. And then the other thing he admits to on that podcast is how he did not value women, and that he slept with nearly 1,000, throws that number out there, which is wild. And then in some cases, sleeping with multiple women at a time, and a pornography addiction. Mm-hmm. So I understand that God can redeem, and somehow it's, doing your, 180? And you're just going the other way and you never look back. But what are the chances 1,000 women that not one of them comes back and there's blackmail involved because, nobody then comes forward when somebody's in a power position in a county? Why take that risk? Are we really at a spot where it's like, well, this is the best guy because he's not like all the other slimy politicians. He's just a regular guy.
No, this comes down to, here's the real issue. You have a war right now in the Republican Party between the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee, made up of the self-proclaimed most righteous of righteous patriots ever, Brent Reagan and his cronies, who are at war with the North Idaho Republicans. Those tend to be your more moderate liberal conservatives, kind of like Dan Scheckler, who's now a city council member. And, you got guys like him. You got Pierce Clegg, not Dorothy Moon, ran against Dorothy. Why can't I think of her name right now? Mary Souza. You have them. So that's a little bit more of the moderate, left leaning. And then you have the Candlelight Altar group, Stephanie Fetzer, Mike Petum, probably Bob Norris, because he plays both sides of the fence on that. And, they're all running for who can control the board. And they are in an all-out battle right now for the PCs that are running. And we're going to talk about a very special mention of a scoundrel that's running for PC coming up here very, very quickly.
We're going to talk about a couple of them.
So that's what we have to say about Padula this week. Stay tuned. Next week, we have more that's coming.
Like Dan said, we're getting ready here to talk about a couple other scoundrels. A couple of these are running for precinct committeemen. Are they committeemen, or is that like not even?
I'm going to
cool
call them committeemen. I don't.
Are
give
they
a
committee
crap.
persons?
Yep.
Committee persons. But before this ties in. What we're transitioning into is this ties in to this incident that occurred over the weekend, Saturday, April 4th, I think is you said, with a young man named Ryan McClintock, 33 years old, who went down, and I guess maybe we're still saying allegedly, but as
he's
news
been
reports
charged. He's
say,
been charged.
He's been charged. But down on Government Way, Kootenai County Sheriff's Office takes a baseball bat and bashes out some windows, and I think does some damage to the front glass doors there on the building. So that sets the tone for what we're moving into. But we want to show you how then this incident that happened on Saturday quickly became politicized by some key names that have been familiar faces here on this program, because they have been in political opposition to you and to us since from day one. And so they will use either you or I or anything connected to you or I in order to gain a political upper hand. So before we get into the facts, we're going to talk about what just happened, because it wasn't organic, meaning how this was politicized. So not the situation with McClintock, but how it was then politicized was not organic. A narrative was built fast. And I mean, it was so fast that it's almost like they knew it was going to happen before it happened. But I mean, that might be a story for another day. And I mean, the political influencers. Within hours of the McClintock incident, a public post goes out suggesting that somehow Dan and I, are responsible for this individual's actions. No evidence, just implication. Then it's reinforced with photos to create a false sense of connection that ignores timeline and is not based on reality whatsoever. Next, unverified claims get injected, screenshots, emotional statements, people claiming proximity, but none of it is substantiated. And then it spreads a little bit. I don't know how much. Not just in one comment section, but across multiple pages. They're on social media, multiple posts. So you've got different voices involved, all pushing the same message. Suggestion turns into accusation, and accusation turns into certainty. You've got people publicly asking if crimes were committed, and others claiming, quote, insider knowledge, and even outright statements that we, the Wilsons, are 100% responsible, quote unquote, for this incident. All of that before any facts were even established. And that was very coordinated narrative amplification. So they suggested it, they reinforced it, they worked hard to distribute it, and then let it spread before anybody can challenge it. They did their best anyway. So, I
So
think
in
somewhat
essence,
their distribution method sucks. But
They're like the mainstream media that they all claim in their chat rooms to be against.
right, yes, because when it serves your purposes, no
They
problem.
all, in their profiles, always have a picture of Trump and Jesus.
It's always there's
Because
some
they're like
scripture.
patriots and God-fearing people.
So we're gonna stop this process right in its tracks. We're gonna talk through some of the actual timeline, actual communication that we've been accused of having, and then facts, so you guys can see what's real and what isn't.
Before we get to the story, which we're going to go into detail, we don't need to say it 7-8 times. We're going to immediately jump to these infamous people in Kootenai County who continually are liars, and they're not just accused of lying. We have continually over and over again provided you guys the evidence. Other links. Just ask Mike Marquardt of Patriot Hangout what Mike Petum did to him. Fat Mac, what is his name?
I don't know which one.
Mike Petum.
Oh.
Fat Mike Petum.
Oh, you forgot.
Yeah. Fat guy that constantly poses in his Micah Flats volunteer fireman uniform. I don't even know they make him that big. I wouldn't want him anywhere near my scene because he can't do anything fast.
Well, and I got to add that, because we'll say this several times, but Mike Petum, we call him Petum.
No, he's Petum.
He is I'm going to call him reporter or something, and an admin on the North Idaho News Facebook page. He goes out and gets video clips, works on posts, administrates that somehow, and whether or not people consider that an official news source or whatever, they do a good job reporting information. I mean, I would say more than mainstream media, it's a lot of where people go.
On the record of stating that he writes Bob Norris's press
Yes.
releases. So anyway, okay. So
involved.
You got Fat Mike Petum that has never been disciplined in a day of his life. Let's see what these guys had to say as soon as the Ryan McClintock event started torching off.
What about?
Oh yeah, let's actually talk about these guys first. So here is Brad Cree. Brad Cree, another fat couple, undisciplined. And I'm going to call you fat when you run your mouth with such certainty, and you have no credibility, nothing to back it up, but running your mouth, not just once, but over and over and over and over again. You're on my radar. I'll judge you and say it. You are fat and undisciplined. And by the way, Brad, the very first time and only time I ever met you, because you probably don't have the same memory that I do, which is impeccable. Ask anybody. Is at the Racketeer at one of their cigar events, and you and your wife were dressed up. You had nowhere to sit. My wife and I Dawna, said, hey, why don't you come sit with us? And you guys waddled up and shoved yourselves around the table, lit up your cigars, and you talked for the next hour constantly about you, yourself, and nothing but. In fact, do you remember when you told me about your dispute with your neighbor, former county commissioner Chris Filios, and all the things that you did to tune him up? Yeah, that's my impression of you. I've held this in for a long time, but I've had enough of your bullshit. So here's what Brad Cree had to say. Why don't you read it?
Oh, well, I don't know. I'll say Brad Cree puts this post on Facebook. I believe this was a comment in the comment section under the original post about Ryan McClintock
Sunday.
over there
This
on
came out
North
Sunday.
Idaho News, which was being distributed on Sunday. Brad Cree says, so question, did Wilson's wife have text communications encouraging this behavior? Inquiring minds want to know, would that also not be a crime? There's more to this story than meets the eye.
Okay, time out. Hey, Brad Cree, which law enforcement entity leaked to you the report? We're talking about the PC affidavit. Who leaked that? Because I was able to finally obtain it from the courts on Monday. On a holiday, you're running your mouth about this, so presumably you had knowledge sometime right after the event. So was it Coeur d'Alene PD that leaked it to you? Was it Kootenai County Sheriff's Office? Was it Post Falls PD? Who leaked portions of this probable cause affidavit to you before the rest of the public could see it? Running your mouth, trying to paint a narrative, trying to incite people. This is what fat ass Brad Cree does in his free time. My guess is he's yucking it up with Petum.
But not just that, he's trying to be a big shot to show his hand that he got leaked information before the rest of the public knew. Mm-hmm. And as to why there would not be consequences for that, I don't know. That's beyond me. But the reason that I want to tell that part of the story is because I want you guys to understand that that is the kind of crooked crap that's going on in this county, that you have a guy, Brad Cree, which I don't know what his connection to the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office would be, what his insider connection would be, because my understanding is he's
a contractor, a flower shop owner, and he's smarter than an attorney, what he was telling us when he was shoving his pie hole with his cigar.
And I don't know if he has former military experience and that's his connection.
I think he might have been an electrician.
Idea to the Brotherhood, but I mean, as to why he has access to that information and who's trusting him with that, just know that as citizens of Kootenai County, if you don't have that kind of power in your back pocket and that kind of a connection, these are things that can and will be used against you, because this is the deviant behavior that's going on in this county.
It just is. Next slide.
Yes, bringing that back up, bringing it up.
This came out again from North Idaho News, aka Mike Petum. Notice some of the comments there. You have Mike Petum saying, so this is what he does. He posts as North Idaho News. Then he gets in his own private chat, comes back around, and he comments, steering a narrative while he's supposedly a reporter. Aaron Barnard, DW needs to be held accountable. This is exactly what he incites in every podcast he does.
Okay, and let me reiterate for everybody in the back row that didn't catch what Dan just said. I'm going to repeat this again. Mike Petum is one of the administrators of North Idaho News. So what he is literally doing is he's making a post reporting the news about the Ryan McClintock event that happened on Saturday, making the post on Sunday. He then is logging in under his personal profile, so logging out of his admin account on North Idaho News. And on that same story he just posted, logging into his personal profile and making a comment, trying to solicit a response and make accusations that somehow this was tied into Dan Wilson. So in case anybody missed that, that is what this is, and that's what you're looking at. Continue.
Aaron Barnard is giving him the double 100% up, and then Mike's wanting to make certain that everybody sees that I was a guest on Ryan McClintock's podcast back in January. We're going to actually talk about the history coming up, and we're going to put a QR code up because I think you guys want to see that interview. Despite everything that's happened, it does not diminish the message. And I think you can see the other side of Ryan that, he's not I don't think he's an overall bad guy. I have no idea what happened this weekend, but listen to what he said in the initial interview that he did with me. And I didn't have any problem with him. All right.
I'm going to go ahead, even while Dan's moving through these slides, because we're showing you some of the timeline in terms of how we were brought into this. I put the QR code up in the corner. And like Dan just said, you are going to want to go listen to that because you're going to understand a little bit more about Ryan McClintock and his mental state, or who we knew him to be at the time that Dan was a guest on his podcast back in January. And I will still I'll still say that it was a phenomenal interview. What he allowed you to share, he allowed you the time and space to share what you did, and it is worth your time for you all to go watch that QR code up in the corner.
And the rest of the people that are lying about what took place, I want all of you guys to see this video firsthand and see for yourself the lies of this group. Now, Mike Petum. Was the Idaho sheriff on his podcast working him all up the other day?
Yeah, so it's another one. One wasn't enough, so Mike Petum's going to get all up in whichever comment section he can and whichever thread he can, because if you say it enough times, it's going to get in front of more eyes, and it'll, it's something in there, something's going to stick. It's going to eventually stick. So that's what Mike Petum's doing.
Then see this face? It's gluten. She responds, Aaron Barnard, Miss Gluten says, Mike Petum, what did they say about rotten fruits? Let's go to the next slide. Brett Surplus, the failed county commissioner candidate from 2024. We talked about all the weird things that he was involved with and his police reports. He says, it's Ryan McClintock, if you know, you know. Sherry Wilder, is it really? Kelly Hardway, yes, said he was going to. Brett Surplus, they coordinated it after his last videos. Who's they, Brett? Are you insinuating that we were coordinating with him? What exactly do you mean? Interesting. You have Jessica Height. Brett Surplus, yes, it's my brother. So Jessica Haidt apparently is McClintock's sister. It's my brother who has been having manic episodes for over a month, and the police department refused to do an involuntary hold until it escalated to the situation. Interesting information. Family members got on, and that's what they're claiming. Manic episode. Now, you have North Idaho News. David Leo, this pain in the ass.
It's a burner profile.
Of course, but we know who it is. The Brokeback Mountain Rodeo Cowboy Clown, at your service.
Well, that's going to be a meme. That's going to be a meme.
Posted this whack job on his clown podcast just this past week. Effing tool. Again, you're a flat out liar, and anybody that watches our show knows that that is definitely not the case. But again, painting a different narrative. Again, we laugh. Don and I sit down, smoke cigars, and laugh at the stupidity said. But this is why we bring them up to say, hey, you guys are full of shit. You're lying, and you'll get your own when we get around to exposing it. But I think you're going to now talk about the chief instigator of them all, the one who is, I don't know, I would say the Jezebel spirit of Kootenai County.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah. Hold on.
Probably a Jezebel spirit.
Stephanie, that's you.
I think that was a good intro to this segment. Just a reminder, the podcast that we're talking about, that these operatives were accusing Dan of being on, or David Leo burner profile was saying, wasn't he just on his podcast the other day or 2 days ago getting them all hyped up? That actually happened in January. And I very much encourage you to go watch it. It's audio and video, so you can see and hear, and the QR code's up there in the corner, so you can see the full episode and see what it is that these guys are all referring to, trying to frame Dan Wilson for some kind of connection to then what happened several months later when it seems that McClintock started to spiral in the events that eventually took place. But you'll see really how Dan says quite the opposite when it comes to law and order and what it is, in fact, that you encourage and discourage.
That's correct.
Yeah, when it comes to law and order. And then up on the screen, so we move from this, the incident happens, you have kind of the miscellaneous comments going on as a precursor. Those are going on in the comment section throughout the day on Sunday when that story first hits the news. And then, I don't know if it was Monday or Tuesday morning, you had Stephanie Fetzer, who spent a little more time cooking up her colorful story. Because if you've known Stephanie Fetzer for any length of time, you'll realize that her emotional manipulation happens through storytelling. So she's learned this as a technique. So you've got to come in and paint a picture and portray. It always has something to do with portraying herself as the heroine in the story of somebody who says, well, I'm going to look at this and point out a villain and tell you who's responsible for this. But also, I have such a pure heart and this person needs help. And I truly hope that they received the help that they needed. And I am praying for this person and that family. So you have always got that precursor to it so that she can set the stage for, I am the protagonist in this situation. And now I'm going to present to you who's actually responsible for all of this mayhem and crime, and who, somebody spiraled off the edge, and I'm going to tell you why Dan Wilson was responsible for this. So I'm going to bring this up on the screen because this is what we were met with on, I think it was Tuesday.
Well, luckily
morning.
you are, Matt, because I don't read this shit.
Nah, he doesn't read it. So I'm a bit of you guys will learn more and more that I'm quite a bit of a buffer between. So oftentimes people think they have a direct line to Dan, whether it's David Leo or the guys that Janet, the people who have shown up, because Janet was at it again today. She didn't like that we were talking about this. She's just going to be opposition and hate you no matter what we come, what the topic of the day is. She's just going to
She's not talking
flow.
to me.
She's going to flow. And it's like, Janet, there's a buffer. There are fewer of you who have direct access to Dan as what you think. And my belief is that is important because he has taken a lot of hits for the stand that he's made. And I didn't mean to bring this up on the screen and then continue to yap on here, but that it's just, we have known that it's actually smart to have that buffer so that there's control over who has direct access to you. And that's an important thing when you're working together, especially on exposing evil and corruption. And that also it does play into this.
But we're
Ryan
so
McClintock
aligned that you
story.
know how I operate.
Yes,
So
I
speak
know
on my behalf many
yes,
times. Yeah.
My background is communications. I manage that very well. We are aligned on the message. We share those values. It's why we have come together, and it's a foundation not only in our relationship but in our life as far as our values are for moving forward. Yeah. And we're aligned on, look, if we're putting ourselves into a position to be scrutinized and potentially in harm's way, that's a unified decision. So when I speak on your behalf, I never have any problem speaking your words or in your tone or from that first person point of view. But it's like,
but do you deceive people into people believing that they're talking to me when it comes to actual real interactions? Meaning that we don't go and so there's never deception.
No, and actually you'll see that. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but no, whenever it's in one-on-one communications, I'm always very upfront. By the way, you're talking with Dawna, I respond to these messages. So yeah, everything's forthright as far as that goes. So Tuesday morning, I want to say this comes up. I think it was a lot of times I have people say, hey, did you see this? Every once in a while, I'm like, yeah, I already saw that. But a lot of times I'm like, no, but we actually have respectively full-time jobs that we do. So I am not trolling the internet 90% of the day. That is just not what I do. So Stephanie Fetzer says this. Should I read the statement?
Yeah,
Is that valuable?
Because you need all the dramatics.
All right. So Stephanie Fetzer comes out with this, and this was obviously, she took a good 48 hours to really think this through. So she says, and I will make up her tone, I watched a mentally ill man escalate wildly this past weekend. I watched his post and prayed that someone would help him get the help he clearly needed. He was arrested on Saturday evening and charged with malicious injury to property and terroristic threats. Praise God, he wasn't hurt, and neither was anyone else. I'm sharing these posts that he made not to keep him in the spotlight. On that note, please be praying for him and his family that he's able to get the help he needs. I'm wondering, at what point do we look at the people responsible for misinforming and radicalizing vulnerable people? He interviewed Dan Wilson on or about January 13th. After that, he seems to have spiraled into the mental break that culminated in his arrest on Saturday. Someone ought to ask Dan and Dawna Wilson what their involvement with Ryan McClintock has been over the last 90 days. What was their communication with him like these past 90 days? He named local pastors and accused them of egregious things with zero evidence. He named members of local law enforcement. He called himself the Archangel Michael and referred to himself as, quote, judge, jury, and executioner. His last video was a, quote, tell my son I love him. I'm willing to die for this cause. Vigilante justice sort of goodbye. I'm all for free speech, but no one ever said free speech might not have consequences. Due process is important. Without it, we would have vigilante justice warriors acting as judges, jury, and executioner all day long, and a lot of innocent people would be hurt or killed. When will the people spreading misinformation be held to account? Do we have to wait until someone is actually harmed?
Okay, let's all take a moment of silence. Would you stand with me?
Please.
Reverence for
Yes. Okay.
Priestess Jezebel.
Okay.
Stephanie Fetzer.
Yes. Okay. Jezebel spirit.
Poppycock. Once again, Stephanie runs her mouth because she is a change agent. You have to go back and see the video that Dawna put together. The people that worked with her in California know what she's really about, knows what she does. But Stephanie frequently, as is reported to us, if she gets any wind online that somebody is at all new to the area or new to the discussion and leaning towards liking what we have to say, she immediately DMs them to tell them the real facts, according to Stephanie. Or she will circumvent them in a public place and want to meet with them. We have dozens of people now over the past year that have spilled the beans and showed us the screenshots.
I have to interject here because I noticed that Jessica Height is joining us on this broadcast. And I want you, Jessica, to understand that there are times that we push boundaries with sarcasm. Mm-hmm. And it is not to be cynical in an event like this. You have to understand, I am not here to try to sell this idea that I'm empathetic and compassionate. That is obviously something that has to be earned through trust and through relationship. And I am just not going to go about doing that in a manipulative or change agent kind of way. But I appreciate that you've logged on because I have wanted to have this word directly for you. And that is, if Stephanie Fetzer at all has
been reported to us.
And it has been reported to us. I have firsthand accounts. I actually have screenshots. So I also have evidence that Stephanie Fetzer will sit when an event happens. She will watch comments. She will find one that is connected to the situation that could potentially suit her purpose. And she will private message you or send a direct message and influence with information to feed information or to get an outcome that she desires. And I want you to understand how that was absolutely politicized. And it took you, not only are we seeing that your brother was in a vulnerable moment and a vulnerable state, but you have to understand based on track record and patterns that Stephanie Fetzer preys on people that are involved in these situations, because if she can use something like that, an event that has people's attention, and if she can use it to discredit her political opposition, she will do that. So if she has, and I might be wrong about this, but if she has at all intercepted and reached out to you, because you wouldn't have known to connect with her. So if there is any merit or any truth to what I'm saying, I am pleading with you to understand the method and means of this character and what she is doing in terms of manipulating the situation. And it is not to better your brother's situation. There is no true empathy or compassion for you as his sister in what you're going through. That will be portrayed.
Oh, by the way, Jessica, Stephanie Fetzer campaigned for Bob Norris, the sheriff. Just in case you don't understand all of the tie-ins, many of the people that your brother was talking about that he has issues with are direct friends of Stephanie Fetzer. So be very careful, as Dawna's saying, of who is steering the narrative. We got your message. We are absolutely willing to talk with you. You can record the conversation. I don't care. But we definitely are more than happy to have a discussion with you. And I noticed that the change happened from the time that you first reached out to talk with us to the comments that you were making online, that you were implying that somehow that I'm taken your brother when he was vulnerable.
Yes, and I'm going to show that because it matters. I'll come back to some of these, but I'm bringing this up on the screen. Because what I noticed...
Where was this posted at? This was posted on Stephanie's...
Stephanie Fetzer brought this onto her post, the one that I just read to you, and it was part of a collage of photos.
Who highlighted it?
That would be Stephanie Fetzer.
Okay, just to make sure.
And just so you know, Fetzer and Jessica, my name is DAWNA, little hang up of mine. But what I noticed is in early on statements, because Jessica, I did... obviously I have empathy and sympathy and compassion toward this situation. And so as it was hitting the media, I was aware. And I'm interested in the comments. And my initial comments that I saw from you was, hey, I'm his sister. Be kind. You don't know him. Watch what you're saying. Mm-hmm. A fair interjection. But I know, and that was early on, I noticed that this very specific statement had gravely changed from those early comments that I saw to what this says, where you're making a clear, direct, very specific accusation. This is not a question. It is a direct and heinous accusation that he is being manipulated by Dan and Dawna Wilson. They have taken advantage of him and used his manic state to their advantage. Then later on down in that comment, you guys can read the whole thing. I truly feel that he has been used as a pawn in this political agenda between Dan Wilson and Bob Norris. Now, I'm not saying this, Jessica. Look, that's why I said I'm making a plea to you to understand who Stephanie Fetzer is. I'm not even directing frustration or any kind of an outburst directly toward you because you couldn't have known. She preys on people as it is politically expedient to her. So that anybody and everybody is at risk. It just depends on when you matter. So most of the time, none of you matter. But if there's some kind of a scenario where it will benefit that her messaging to take down political opposition, she will make you feel like you matter.
Yep,
she will tell you she just wants the best for your family, for God, and how wicked her political.
I think this is a great time. Let's go back and take a look at a couple of those other last
yeah,
ones.
I'm going to go back.
I want to make a point, and then I'm going to make a statement on our involvement with Ryan.
My mouse is being. I think this was that next one.
On Stephanie's post, you have Keith Bowe. Another fat ass that runs his mouth all the time, undisciplined puke. Dan Wilson is 100% responsible for the attack on the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. That is on Stephanie Fetzer's page. I'm going to tell all of you out there that are running your mouths on social media. I've never said this before. Well, I'm going to say it right now. For those of you that have gone online and made defamatory statements that I caused, manipulated, or am responsible for what took place, it is 100% false. It is defamatory. And I would say preserve your documents because my attorney will be contacting each and every one of you because I will not stand for this. And I have absolutely all the evidence I need. So you better lawyer up pretty damn quick because it's coming your way if I haven't been explicitly clear.
All right. So we have talked about some of the outcome and what people were saying, and you just transitioned into they're absolutely false statements. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we can say that at the top of our lungs all day long, but so what? Prove it. Mm-hmm. We have a connection to Ryan McClintock because he had reached out to the Idaho Sheriff Facebook page. Yeah, through a
January,
a DM. It could have even been in
late
December. Mm-hmm. And he positioned himself as a local podcaster, and he was looking to interview Dan. I made a statement up front just to be clear, this is Dawna Wilson responding to messages. So anything that I can relay to Dan, I most certainly will. That allows me to engage in comments and field some questions without putting that off on Dan, who some of you might not think has anything better to do than come online and spread negativity, but you actually run companies. So I do what I can to help people get the answers that they need. So there was some forward motion in that dialogue, which we have record of all of it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, you can please interject at whatever point.
I think that the basic is that we took a chance on the kid. We have our own process. And so there was a questionnaire filled out about previous criminal history. We run our own background check on him through a service that we use. And, you know, he was completely truthful to us and there was no criminal history other than a couple public fighting incidents that took place, 10 years ago or something.
So
there was no reason for me to say that I have any problem with the kid. He wasn't a part of it. He claims he wasn't a part of any gang, Aryan Brotherhood, Freemasons. I mean, no organizations. And so these are the things that I do when I don't know the reputation of the person that wants to get together with me. Second thing is he wanted me to come to his house and I refused. For obvious reasons.
Meaning that he was filming his podcast. Yeah. His podcast setup was in his home and he wanted to have in-person discussions. So once Ryan, we gave him a questionnaire to fill out. He answered truthfully because Dan ran a background check. Everything matched up. I don't want to say no criminal history, but he actually was
a fight. Who cares?
It was like a nothing. And so all of that passed the check. But the one remaining thing, because I will say that he was persistent, but not in a bad way.
Not in a weird way.
He was persistent in that this is somebody who wants to create a platform where he wants to have deeper discussions with people that he believed were interesting. And that's what he was building. So he passed that initial test. And I actually took it a step further to say, rather than shut this down, because I knew it was
going to be a solid no. I won't go to somebody else.
Neither he nor I nor Dan, we're not putting ourselves in that position. This is our policy is public location, above board, full transparency. So I took it a step further to actually facilitate that and do the legwork for appropriate public location where he could bring his equipment and do a remote recording and create that podcast. So there was back and forth exchanges while those incidental arrangements were being made. And then the podcast happened, which again...
At Stogies and Stories out in Post Falls.
Public location. They have a side conference room there. It was a perfect spot to be able to conduct that. These two guys sat down, McClintock and Ryan and Dan, and they had what ensued was actually a great conversation.
I absolutely enjoyed it. I thought that he was engaging. I thought that he was nice. I thought he was intelligent. I thought that, he really wanted to do good. And when he released the episode, we went ahead and reshared it.
We did because I reviewed it. That's our policy too.
Oh, by the way,
anytime
we fully recorded we always do duplicate.
For anybody who wants to understand, the degree to which Dan and I work to try to cover those things that we don't just, it's not haphazard. And so anytime there's a result, like anything hits the media or anything we're posting, the amount of work that we're putting into that before there's anything that you guys see, I mean, it's just not to be underestimated, the amount of work. Yeah. So as a duplicate and a fail safe, there's still that hint of, we don't look, this guy's passed the all of the checks and balances that we put out there, but I also bring my own camera and as a backup so if anything goes sideways, we've got a full recording of everything that's being said.
Really was
yes. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just yet another measure.
So, from that point forward, I had no more contact with Ryan whatsoever. All communications happened directly to you. He did not have my personal cell phone. We had no discussions. Over the several months, he began to message you from time to time, just say, hey, I'm looking into these different churches, okay? And he would say, I'm close. I got some informants. And we're like, you can explain. You're basically,
Yeah. Obviously, the part that detractors are going to prey on is that when Dan did the interview, it was the same messaging that has always been consistent. It
Everything.
is absolutely
Everything
in line.
I say right here.
Absolutely in line with it is why we're here. It is the mission that we're on. There is no mystery about that. And in fact, one of the early on message exchanges with Ryan, when he was asking, well, what is your mission? I gave him a succinct answer in that message as to what it is. Yeah. So does it have to do with exposing corruption in Kootenai County? Well, yes, it does. That is the platform that we have built. That is what we do. We force accountability to a lot of these elected officials and people in powerful positions here in Kootenai County. That is what we do.
Yeah. Now, again, it needs to be said, we are relaying off of our memory. There could be small little details that, aren't 100% correct. We could go back if it's pointed out or we find something, we'll correct it, right? So we reserve the right to correct it. But everything we're telling you right now is by the book, as we recall, and we have the backup documents to show for that.
Well,
Dawna, you're talking back and forth with him. It's benign. It's like you're encouraging him as far as like I'm having these conversations with people, nothing illegal.
Because you understand too, you've got a kid who's not much older than the age of my oldest son, who's looking to start a local podcast. So, I even wanted to be careful. I was telling Dan earlier today, I have to be careful about even using the word encouraging,
Yeah, right.
You know, I'm encouraging the kid, and it's like, oh, look, you were encouraging his behavior. No, he was looking to build a platform, and he was interested in, for reasons of accountability, he started to go down that path of okay, well, who are people that know more on these subjects? And he slowly started to go into a direction where he was doing his own research. Yeah. So there were a couple of instances where he's like, hey, did you see the video I put out today? And I didn't. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I even was concerned, like, oh, he might be offended that I'm not like, really meticulously following what he's doing. But that goes back to the time in our day, and we both have jobs and we're producing our own things. So it's a lot. So there was some there where I was just loosely keeping in touch to say, I hear you. I see you. Yeah. And you're doing a good work.
Yes.
And then as the days moved on, we don't have a method.
It's not like you're texting him every single week.
Any kind of insinuation that we were feeding him information. There was never, if he shared something with us, by us, I mean, the communication came through me. It was never directly to you.
I've never talked with him since the interview.
But, I view that still as an us, but it's me. And he was informing us of what he was working on. It never went that other way around. So any information that he had from us was all public. It's the live streams that we do. It's the same thing that we deliver to all of you. It's all the investigative research that we've done that we have made public.
And then we found out here just a couple of weeks ago, like a week or two, that a former employee of Genesis School that was at Real Life was going to be on his podcast. And we know the guy Ryan that was on that show, not Ryan McClintock, but another
Two
Ryan.
Ryans, yeah.
So that was the next thing that we knew. And that was the first episode that I had watched since our interview of anything that he had done. Right. I think he tags you on Facebook or something. But anyway, the long and the short is that you came to me middle of last week and just said,
maybe Wednesday.
He's got this alter ego and it's kind of weird. And, it's just kind of odd. It wasn't anything bad, but he wasn't the same kid that we met.
Correct.
And then by Thursday, he was telling you that he sent, and these aren't long texts. This is just like one text.
And these are to me, not to Dan.
Saying, you know what, Jim's going down. Jim Putman, we've got information. He's going to get arrested tomorrow and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm hearing you relay this information. I'm like, okay, cool. We'll wait to see it.
And I've learned enough by now that it's, I would, if I was getting a comment like that, my response was something to the effect, and again, this is all documented, so we have that to fall back on. But, at that point, I'm asking leading questions like, oh, did somebody give you information? Because if you know one thing about Dan and I, look, we have had people, the other thing to keep this in perspective, I know I just keep veering and not completing a sentence. The other thing to keep in mind is that we have people feeding us information all day long. We have our number that is in the ticker on the screen here for the show. We get texts and voicemails to that number. We get private messages on multiple pages, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, a couple different pages on Facebook. We get emails. We get tips all the time. We get people telling us very absurd stories. Some of them can be completely true. Others, you just really don't know the frame of reference. And every single one of those would have to be vetted, and it would be highly time consuming before it's anything that we would ever take seriously and bring forward to the public. Yeah. So as I'm just very recently getting messages from McClintock, and he's seeming as though
did you get 100 messages, 10,
no.
20, a dozen, half a dozen?
What, between Wednesday and Saturday?
Saturday morning.
Maybe 5?
Yeah.
Maybe 5 messages.
Were you emailing him?
No, to be transparent, there were emails back in January when we were
setting up the interview,
making whatever you call it, arrangements, details for location and time.
For him exchanging after the podcast, were you ever?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Were you I'm going to sound like Bob Norris. Have you ever? Did you? So he was.
I'm on the stand.
Was he
now.
messaging you on Facebook or private text?
This is mine. It actually was my number, which most people.
So
yeah,
about a half a dozen, you say 5 or so between last week and Wednesday and Thursday.
Saturday.
Okay. So you get information from him Thursday night, alluding to the fact that we got to get a warrant. Dan's going to be the new sheriff. I'm not running for sheriff, just to be clear. We made this clear. And that they need to get a warrant to go out and arrest people.
And then another message that was something from McClintock that was something like, well, do you have evidence on Paul Van Noy to arrest him too? And it's all very well thought.
Your response
it's measured.
Your response is only the coroner can arrest the sheriff.
And we're going to show you. Yeah.
And everything's got, you've got to go to law enforcement is what was said. And then Saturday morning when we got up, you had another one. And it was, again, we need to round people up. We're going to go arrest them or something like that. I'm probably misspeaking, but we'll show it here in a second. But in other words, Norris and these guys are getting arrested today.
The only comment from him to me was that he was going to go arrest the sheriff.
Okay.
So any rumors about...
Did he say the sheriff or did he say...
now I don't.
Sheriff? But he's going to go make an arrest.
We'll
show it in
a
second.
Yeah, we're going to put it up on this. And so you'll see our response was very measured, and our response was in fact preemptive because, that, and again, this happened over the course of 48 or 72 hours. It happened very quickly where you had a kid that was on the right track for digging into things, I think, in a healthy way. And at the point that it took a turn, it was very rapid. And I think that there were a lot of different eyes on him then at that point.
Yeah. So obviously he was making videos that I wasn't saying. I didn't know the severity of it. But your statement, Tim, and we're going to show this here at the end, is whatever credible information or evidence you have needs to be taken directly to law enforcement. We cannot be involved with anything unlawful or be a part of anything. My thing's covered up here. Claims that you are involved with.
I guess is that at the end?
Yeah.
And
then
we'll show you guys that at the end.
If you have credible evidence, go to Idaho State Patrol. Turn it into them.
Okay.
So that's the essence. And by the way, I'm not anybody's attorney. I'm not law enforcement. He wasn't making any statements to us that he was going to do something violent.
No, at that point, there were no threats. He was merely talking about going and making arrests, and we made a preemptive response of what Dan just read, and we're going to show you that screenshot so that you can see the actual interaction, and that is where it was left.
And by the way, remember, in the state of Idaho, you can actually make arrests as a citizen. In fact, Bob Norris, I wish we had that clip, his famous, you can arrest somebody that's involved in human trafficking, can't you? Again, it's not my job. I'm not getting involved in it. I wasn't involved with it. I wasn't contacting him directly, but we did the proper thing. There was no indication in any message to us, which the record will show, where he said, I'm going to do something violent. People tell us all the time, we're going to go down and do this, that, and the other that's nonviolent. And I'm like, okay, good luck with that. That's, you guys are adults, whatever.
Yes. And that's why it was important for me to put it into the context of people also need to understand the barrage of messages that we constantly receive. We receive them from people who have been imprisoned. We receive them, and there's empathy and compassion that goes out to that. And we do welcome those messages. Yes. I'm not saying that to shut it down.
But we don't just automatically
You can't just, no.
So, okay. So that's what we said. And they're going to say, well, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
You guys, and by the way, why are we also talking about this? Well, we're going to show here pretty quick here because we were named in this police report. We're going to talk about that.
We'll get to that.
But I want to be explicitly clear before we get to this because, we're running low on time.
Yeah, make it snappy.
That every text communication that Dawna had with Ryan, and this is for, Jessica, this is for you to know. We have voluntarily already turned that over to law enforcement. They have all the messages. So Stephanie Fetzer and Fat Mike Petum and Fat Brad Cree and Round Face Aaron Barnard Gluten Face and all you other ilk that are out there, Keith Bowe, running your mouths and making defamatory statements, Brett Surplus. We've already turned it all into law enforcement. We have turned in all of the communications that are going to clearly show that not only did we not encourage him, nor did we incite him, nor did we have knowledge that he was actually going to go out and create a crime. And remember, he was posting these videos apparently one after another. Casey Whalen has already taken a collage of them and put them up on Rumble.
In fact, I'm going to...
So you guys can see that.
I'm going to put that...
So it was open to the public, and there were people in real time seeing that, and they were calling law enforcement in, but we've already turned our content directly into Coeur d'Alene police detectives. Because again, we have nothing to hide, but I think it's going to paint a clear picture of what the truth is. So up yours, all of you out there who are running to conclusions, you're discredited again because of your hatred of how fast you jump onto things and you make accusations. And like I said, be ready. It's coming. So without any further ado, let's go over in the final minutes we have, and let's go ahead and look at the facts. I think, Dawna, you put that QR code so people can see.
So the QR code up in the corner is independent local journalist Casey Whalen actually took the time to put together it could be all of the videos and content that Ryan McClintock had been putting out there. Casey jumped on that so quickly that he's got a 44 plus minute video over on his Rumble channel. And that is what that QR code is up in the corner, so that if you're coming in on the middle of the story and you're like, I don't even know what just happened and what was this kid saying, what's going on, that's going to give you a little more context. So that QR code is going to be important for you. Okay, continue.
Coeur d'Alene Press, April 7th, 2026. This was just yesterday. A Post Falls man accused of smashing windows with a baseball bat at the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office and threatening law enforcement over the weekend will undergo a mental health evaluation, a judge ordered Monday. Ryan J. McClintock, 33, is charged with malicious injury to property and terrorism, both felonies. You guys have already heard this. He's going to undergo a psychological evaluation, which I think is very warranted given the kid that we knew, and all of a sudden the change, according to Jessica, her words, I believe, said he was having a manic episode, that she reached out to law enforcement. Yeah. Here's where I want you guys to pay attention. So defense attorney James Seeby, I think that's how it's pronounced, requested that the court order the evaluation. Pay really close attention to this, folks. This is a situation, this is a quote from the attorney. Quote, this is a situation where the family had made repeated contact with law enforcement asking for assistance because they were concerned about Mr. McClintock's mental health, Seeby said. In fact, I think the Post Falls police appeared at his house at least once, and I know they took some firearms from the area. Now, I don't 100% know how welfare checks and community custody takes place here in Idaho. I know it's not entirely the same as it was 20 miles to the west in Washington State, where I was a peace officer. But I find it fascinating. I want to know more. I want to know if that's true. Post Falls PD, if they went out and contacted him, how did they take his firearms? Did they seize them? Where's the paperwork for that? If they seized them, then why didn't they take him in for an eval? Again, these are all just working off of what statements have been made. I'm not claiming that these are factual, but I'm asking these questions. If they didn't take them because he was a risk, did they take him because he requested that they hold them for safekeeping and property versus evidence or whatever? I don't know. But here's the deal. It is now being publicly stated, not only by the attorney, but also by family, that Post Falls PD should have had Ryan on their radar. And we're going to talk a little more about this, but let's go in to the official probable cause affidavit that was filed by Coeur d'Alene Police, specifically Officer D. Galloway, K109, who took this as primary, wrote the probable cause affidavit to turn into the courts so the judge at first appearance can weigh in whether or not the arrest had probable cause. And then it's up to the prosecutors to take it from there, typically. We'll go to the next page, please. Offenses, malicious injury to property, booked into the Kootenai County Jail, terrorist acts, he was booked. Next page, narrative. On 4/4/26, I responded to a threatening call for service regarding a male outlined as Ryan McClintock at approximately 1807 hours at 6:07. Call notes informed me that the male had made threats towards the Coeur d'Alene Police Department and the Post Falls Police Department. Call notes also informed Ryan made a post that he was headed to the location and to tell his son he loved him. At approximately 1834 hours, I was informed that he was in the fairgrounds parking lot breaking out windows with a baseball bat. It goes on to talk about he made comment. They saw him. They arrested him. Next one. Ryan made posts on both of his social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram. Today, I did not review any of the posts made by Ryan prior to asking him the following questions. He asked Ryan about the post, which hinted at saying goodbye to his son. And Ryan told me, quote, if you believe in something enough, it doesn't matter if you die proving your point, unquote. Shortly after making the statement, Ryan went on to say, if we want change, we have to act, and that is why I broke the window out, unquote. Ryan told me these actions would cause the story to become more popular. I asked Ryan what is the expected outcome of breaking the windows, and he told me, quote, to prove my point, unquote. Let's move on. We'll provide this so people can download this too.
Yep.
And by the way, we have to put the videos from last week's body-worn cameras from Kootenai County Sheriff's Office
Up
online
on,
too.
yeah, okay.
Going on, again, you guys can read this. We're hitting the highlights. Ryan told me he had a confidential source who was giving him information but refused to provide me their names. I want you guys to kind of bookmark that statement by the officer. Again, not a direct quote. The officer is saying, Ryan told me he had a confidential source who is giving him information but refused to provide me their name. Goes on to talk a little more about the narrative. We're hitting highlights. Next page. Ryan told me he pointed out the Coeur d'Alene Police Department and the Post Falls Police Department as targets because he had been calling for the arrest of Jim Putman, Paul Van Noy, and Sheriff Norris since last night, and it still had not happened. Okay? So you guys catching that? He was calling for their arrest, and it didn't happen. So according to this, he decided to act. Ryan believed these law enforcement agencies should have arrested these people. Next page. And we're going to go to the actual CAD that will show you the minutes of what was happening with law enforcement, because I have some questions that I want to ask, and I think many of you might agree with the questions that I have. Goes on. Ryan told me he would continue his YouTube podcast called The Church Auditor. Ryan told me he has plans on conducting an investigation on Heart of the City and the Candlelight Church. Ryan told me Dan Wilson has provided him information about the Candlelight Church. I asked if Ryan and Dan Wilson speak about this type of stuff, and he told me yes. I asked Ryan if Dan Wilson was knowledgeable about today's incident, and Ryan told me Dan Wilson was, this is quote, Dan Wilson was like, I cannot have any part of it, unquote. I asked Ryan if he had communicated his plans for today with Dan Wilson, and he told me he had mentioned it to him, but Dan Wilson again told him he could not be involved. Ryan told me he communicated with Dan's wife, Dawna, to communicate to him. Ryan told me this communication was via text. So again, how did Fat Brad Cree know about this PC affidavit before Monday morning? Who in the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office or the Coeur d'Alene Police, the prosecutors, wherever, who leaked that to him? Who leaked that information to him? We were brought into this. So this is why once we were brought into this narrative and we saw what everybody was saying and the allegations, like, what Cree was saying, what P. Toom was saying, what Bo was saying, what Aaron Barnard, what Stephanie Fetzer was saying about holding us accountable, then we decided that, well, you know what? We're going to do what Wilsons always do, which is we are transparent. We show our proof. We have nothing to hide. We provided all of the communications we had from day one to Coeur d'Alene Police. It's in their possession as far as we know right now. And here's another thing. Those records will match up with McClintock's cell phone records. Just to be clear. So the naysayers, I can hear now saying, well, you guys probably just gave them the ones that you wanted and the ones, that you didn't erase. Well, no, we don't erase messages because of incidences like this. And it's going to show that we're being completely truthful. Now, we're going to go through some of the supplemental reports. We'll scroll through to a couple pages. The next highlight. Keep going. Right here. So this is supplemental report by Officer Tobias K36. These are things that we're gonna talk about. They're gonna be relevant. Ryan has well over 100 videos, commonly referred to as reels, on his Facebook page. Of note, I located Ryan's 3 most recent reels that he posted to have statements specifically in regards to the Coeur d'Alene Police Department and the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. Next page. On 4/4/26 at approximately 1800 hours, Ryan posted a reel stating, quote, "I need some hardcore effing gangsters, people who are not effing afraid to die. We're going to go take the Coeur d'Alene Police Department and also Post Falls Department," end quote. He vaguely asks for the Russian Mafia, Mongol Motorcycle Club, and Hells Angels and Motorcycle Club to assist him. The video lasts approximately 45 seconds. After the first reel posted at approximately 1800 hours, Ryan posted another reel. In that reel, he states to tell his son he loves him. He says, if you believe in something enough, it's worth dying for. He specifically says, quote, "I will be at the Coeur d'Alene Police Department in 45 minutes with a effing baseball bat," end quote. He further states, quote, "And even if I'm there by myself and I die, I don't effing care. How is that for drawing a line in the sand?" End quote. The video lasts approximately 52 seconds. Next page. Again, supplemental reports by other officers. Officers were advised and staged in multiple areas of advantage in the event that Ryan actually showed up. Okay, so they're being advised by dispatch that these threats have been towards several targets in the region. So they're staged. This officer says, "I was staged in the parking lot at Heart of the City Church. New information was learned that Ryan was last seen in his vehicle near the area of 95 and Kathleen." By the way, this is Officer K. Felix, K89. Go to the next one. Another supplemental report by K89. This is important. 4/4/26 at approximately 1804 hours, I was standing by at Candlelight Christian Fellowship after learning information that Ryan McClintock was on his way from Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene to Kootenai County Sheriff's Department to show force. He called on Hells Angels, the Russian Mafia, and others to show up to law enforcement agencies. Let me state this again, because this is going to be part of our discussion as we wrap this up. I was standing by at Candlelight Christian Fellowship after learning information that McClintock was on his way from Post Falls to Coeur d'Alene PD and Kootenai County Sheriff's Department to, quote, show force, unquote. File that in your memory bank, because I think this is actually pretty important. Mm-hmm. We're going to go to the 2 more pages. Next one, right there. This officer, supplemental from Ayub K108. It should be noted, hold on. I was in the area of 95 and West Dalton Avenue when I heard dispatch advise ISP observed Ryan's vehicle traveling northbound on Highway 95 approaching East Nider Avenue. The vehicle was observed to continue northbound on Highway 95 approaching West Kathleen Avenue. ISP troopers lost visual of the vehicle. Troopers believed the vehicle either traveled westbound on Kathleen or continued northbound on Highway 95. Shortly after dispatch aired that Ryan was at Kootenai County Jail breaking windows with a bat. He goes on, it should be noted a few minutes prior to this call, I was handling a citizen assist via landline. The reporting party, Michael Towen from Candlelight Church, that's Jason Bourne of Candlelight Security. I love this. Jason Bourne, another overweight guy that's in charge of security. Reporting party Michael Towen from Candlelight Church called and reported Ryan posting videos on his social media platforms threatening to take down the Coeur d'Alene PD and the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. And, he goes on to say that Ryan was going to show up at the Candlelight Church and cause issues. Michael requested extra patrol around the church, like they do so often. We've
So
published that before.
who else gets that? Who else gets that preferential treatment if there's a threat?
Let me go over the CAD notes. We don't have them on screen, but I just want to read a couple of these for you. We'll also provide this.
I guess I can put them. Do you have?
Yeah, you go ahead and that's that second PDF.
I'll just go for it.
This year, the call notes, the master CAD table from the event through, I obtained this through Coeur d'Alene PD. At 1807, which is 607, is when this, 1804 is when this popped off for the report. I'm just going to read a couple ticks of the events as they went historically. 1807, Nordman, male Ryan McClintock is posted making threats towards Coeur d'Alene PD and Post Falls PD. Was trespassed from churches yesterday. Weird. So he's already on the records because they said he'd been trespassed yesterday. Made posted he is headed to location and to tell his son he loves him. Goes on, per K108 stating he will show up to the PD with baseball bat to show up PD since they are not doing anything. At 1815, so that's 6:15, Post Falls Police Department got a call. Ryan is on his way to Coeur d'Alene or KCSO. I want you guys to pay very careful attention to what I'm about ready to say next. Rapid SOS showed him 90 eastbound currently. We're not going to talk about what Rapid SOS is. You guys can look online between now and next week, but this is Big Brother. I think if you look at the tools that they're using in the name of security and public safety, this is what's going on in Post Falls. So while we've killed LPRs and other things temporarily in Kootenai County, we still have to deal with Post Falls PD, Coeur d'Alene PD, and other agencies. Take a look. Rapid SOS, one word. Look at their platforms for public safety and see if that's not chilling. Oh, but, give up your dangerous liberty for a little bit of security, like this incident. And it really didn't do them any good. Goes on at 1816, he said, tell all Coeur d'Alene police to leave right now. Because again, Ryan is announcing to them what he's doing. Post Falls PD is trying to stop him, maybe armed with a bat per social media. 1816 again, he called Post Falls Police Department, told them everyone needs to leave Coeur d'Alene PD, then hung up. Troopers spotted him northbound 95 approaching Niter at 6:25. It's amazing how long it took them to contact this dude, and then he basically slips right through their hands. They wanted him to stop a vehicle because they finally told ISP, hey, he is committing a crime, so go ahead and stop him. And then at the end, we have the arrest. Okay, why am I showing all these different timestamps? Because here's something to note. Look at what the information in the CAD. Ryan called them and told them what he was going to do. You have all these units that are from multiple law enforcement agencies, including Post Falls PD, that should have been watching this guy, but maybe they're not able to do that because their chief right now is on suspension for what is it? Some kind of a sexual tryst or something that I don't know what the reason is, but that's what is the rumors going around. The new chief of Post Falls PD. So that department's got a little bit of an issue right now. So maybe they weren't able to watch what was going on with Ryan. I don't understand, with as many contacts, why somebody's not watching his videos and going, okay, now it's time to do an involuntary hold. Allegedly by the attorney, you already took his guns. You're seeing him escalate online because apparently he's putting out video after video after video, and they should be concerning. And he heads off from Post Falls, I'm going to guess I-90, heading eastbound into Coeur d'Alene, and they have patrol cars staged at churches that were named as targets. But here's what's funny. Why was there no units at Kootenai County Sheriff's Office? You have the one officer state, dispatch advised him that he was going to target Coeur d'Alene PD and Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. I mean, back when I was in law enforcement, we would actually park a unit at the target location or multiple units, because that's where they're claiming they're going. So how in the hell was this kid able to park across the road, go across the street with his bat and start breaking out the windows on a campus that also has a Kootenai County Sheriff Jail? You're going to tell me that there aren't cameras all over that campus that are watching people coming and going? You don't have a guy in a control room watching the campus of 360? Probably not. Knowing the way Bob Norris does something, he probably didn't have coverage on that side or somebody actively watching it. But I want to know, you've got units by the officer's own admission that were at Heart of the City or Candlelight. So how in the hell was this guy able to travel for almost 45 minutes? We'll give it to him, 30 minutes. And nobody ever thought, let's park a unit actually on location and intervene prior to the guy committing the crime or being able to carry it out? That's a question I have for Coeur d'Alene PD and for other local law enforcement. And before you guys get all your panties in a bunch, how dare you, armchair quarterback? No, I as a citizen now get to ask these questions because I'm looking at what's presented, and I just want to know, what did Post Falls PD do or not do to prevent this kid from escalating out of control? Did they do everything? They may have. But it kind of seems a little suspect to me. I mean, again, I dealt with mentally disturbed people all the time. It's one of the largest calls for service, it seemed, anymore when I was working over across the border. But you got people calling in. You got family members pleading. Apparently, according to the attorney and in the Coeur d'Alene Press, the statement stated that Post Falls PD had taken firearms away. I don't know, man. I just have questions. But in the end, to conclude this, Wilson's had nothing to do with encouraging, inciting, pushing this kid towards whatever actions he took. It is clear by anybody that has watched the videos, which I have now watched the majority of the videos yesterday after seeing what Casey had put together in his collage. You can see that the kid from the podcast that we were guests on, that I was a guest on back in January, is not the same kid that was posting online, nor the same kid that was a few days before that when he was interviewing Ryan, the former employee of Genesis School at Real Life Ministries.
When you say he wasn't the same kid, that is...
Obviously, it was like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Yes, that there was something going on. So there seemed to be a spiral happening. And I think there were a myriad of people in his lives that were also trying to sort that out. Because at what person do you think, or at what point do you think somebody's like creating an online persona to go after whatever mission is that they're trying to accomplish versus the people that know him the best, which is not, it's neither you nor I, because there's no personal relationship there. So the accountability to that is not the same as it would be for people, family members, or people that have close personal relationships with him.
Yeah.
And so I think there were many people trying to sort that out. And then at what point is the time for intervention? And what that comes back to is when there was any communication with us, the question for us was, what is our responsibility to this in terms of what our response is? And we can only go off what we're being presented with, meaning what he's presenting to us. And so part of that last communication, and I put that up on the screen, was, Ryan was working on going after some of the local pastors. He seemed to be indicating that he had a source that was giving him information. He had indicated to me that he had facts or evidence. I never once pressed him for, well, show me what you've got. Nothing like that. And so this would have been on Friday, 7:46 a.m., when we realized the direction that Ryan McClintock was headed, where he was talking about making an arrest or going out and doing some sort of citizen's arrest. And it wasn't completely clear. They were very fractured.
Who's doing it? We don't know.
Yes, they were very fractured text messages. So my response on Friday at 7:46 a.m. was that it would be law enforcement's responsibility to issue a warrant. What we have published are victim statements, and there has been an active investigation by Coeur d'Alene Police Department that we have no involvement with. That was when that McClintock was asking me if we had enough evidence to go arrest Pastor Paul Vanoy. So that was the answer that was given to him, a very appropriate response to the question that he was asking. He said, McClintock said, copy that. There actually is a message between copy that and my response here on Friday at 12:15 p.m. There's a message that's been deleted. That was on McClintock's end, not on mine. I believe it was a voice memo. It was deleted. But he was working on something that he claimed he had evidence for. So my response was, that sounds like excellent progress. And he was looking at the mega churches. He had been actually, and I can authenticate this, supplied with a document, a quite extensive
Which we
PDF
have
document,
seen.
which we both seen.
Well, I saw it for the first time today.
That has a lot of information in it into how real life ministry is formed, the people associated with it, how their auxiliary organizations are run. And one of the things that Ryan McClintock was bringing to light, I mean, I want to say a couple of weeks ago, was that there was nothing in that document that was illegal, but there were things that were highly ethical and immoral. Mm-hmm. And that's what bothered him. And that was the direction he was going. He was wanting to present that information to the public. So my response on Friday at 12:15 was, that sounds like excellent progress. We're going to look forward to seeing whatever he's releasing, because that was toward, he's calling it, that's one mega church. And then, so that's Friday, the last message. By Saturday morning at 8:05 a.m., so you're like, okay, this is out of left field. We get a message from Ryan McClintock. I do. Dawna does. To my number. It says, is Dan ready? And this proves that he knew he was talking to me, not you. Is Dan ready to head down to CDA Police Department? I'm going to arrest Bob myself. He says, I'm also rallying AKA and Trevor Prangley. I personally don't know who Trevor Prangley is.
I think those are MMA fighters in the area.
Okay. So then is my answer. It gets a little bit cut off on, at least on this one, but it says, whatever credible information or evidence you have needs to be taken directly to law enforcement. We cannot be involved in anything unlawful, nor can we be a part of something, any claim. I mean, that wasn't like the perfect screenshot, but
oh, wow. You just built us up on it. Now, yeah. It's a conspiracy. You're hiding.
Well, do you have another printout or something?
No, because I'm the idiot
really wasn't.
That
okay, well.
While you're pulling it up to read.
I can at least pull it up to read it.
I want to say this.
But I have it.
This is my question for Officer Galloway while you're pulling up the message.
All right.
Galloway is told in his report, and I understand that the report is just basically him telling the highlights of going back and expressing the elements of the crime as to why he made the arrest and the decision that he did. And I want to go back because this is important. And Galloway, I'm really curious. I'd love to know this. Maybe I'll get the body camera and it will answer my questions, but the body camera footage from that event. But he said to you, and it's not quotes, you didn't quote this, you merely retold it. Ryan told you that he had a confidential source who was giving him information but refused to provide me their name. Then, after Ryan says that he's, doing this podcast to rally the troops, he says, let's see. Looks like I lost my page. Oh, Ryan told me he would continue his YouTube podcast, The Church Auditor. He plans on conducting an investigation on Heart of the City and Candlelight Church. Ryan told me Dan Wilson has provided him information about Candlelight Church. Again, never happened. I asked if Ryan and Dan Wilson speak about this type of stuff, and he told me yes. Now, interesting that he's asking leading questions. In my opinion, as an officer, I would call that a leading question. Hey, Galloway, why are you so obsessed with this? Because I'm going to go on to ask another question. I asked Ryan if Dan Wilson was knowledgeable about today's incident, and Ryan told me Dan Wilson was like, I cannot have any part of it. I asked Ryan if he had communicated his plans for today with Dan Wilson, and he told me he mentioned it to him, but Dan Wilson, again, told him he could not be involved. Nowhere else in this entire report do you mention asking who else had knowledge. Galloway, Officer Galloway, in your PC affidavit that you're clearly stacking it up as to why you had probable cause to make the arrest, and I believe that you had probable cause, but the things that you say are important, and I'm curious again as to why it is that you only asked him if I had knowledge of it. You didn't ask him, hey, did anybody else have knowledge of this? And my question is, why? Is that because you were stressed and you just it slipped your mind? Or is it because of how much I've been going after all area law enforcement and looking at the events, and you guys hate reserve officers, as you all stated, because of your elitism? I don't know that you are. I'm just asking a general question. Why are you leading questions like that? Why aren't you interested in finding out who else asked or had knowledge of what he was about to do? In rant.
Okay, I'm actually going, hold on. So I had a question. This is legitimate, so I just airdropped it. This is legitimate. Austin wanted to know, because we had up on the screen a screenshot, and he wants to know, what's your edited message say before it was edited? I didn't recall that it was edited, so I don't want to tell you, Austin. I don't want to say I don't recall. So I actually went back to my messages, just to be like forthright, transparent.
The ones that we've already turned over to.
Because it was, yes. You're right. Good catch. It was edited. So I clicked on in iMessage there where it says edited, and I have a screenshot for you. So I'm going to pull that in, because I have saved these, and I'm going to bring those up onto the screen, because there's a couple of things. It's going to show you my edited message so you can see what it was I edited.
What do you mean by when you say edited?
It actually says there on the screenshot, it shows in the bubble of the message that I sent right underneath, it says edited.
Okay.
So that it's a legit question, and I would be asking the same thing. So right now I'm going to bring these images into the program and put them up onto the screen for you. And since I'm doing that in real time, just talking while I'm doing it. So this first one, let's see here. Let's see. Oh, let me take this off so we can all read this. Okay. First of all, so I'm keeping you in suspense, Austin. The rest of the statement that got cut off, I put up here. It says, whatever credible we're telling him, whatever credible we're telling McClintock, whatever credible information or evidence you have needs to be taken directly to law enforcement. We cannot, nor can we be a part of making any claims that are unfounded. You need to go directly to law enforcement with what you have. And then I also, just for additional clarification, I said, if you have credible evidence of a crime being committed, you should contact Idaho State Police. Again, those responses were all based on that he was going to go make a citizen's arrest. Mm-hmm. And then this is just a real-time response to Austin. I didn't have this available before right now, but I went back and checked. Full transparency, I have expanded that and shown you what it was that was edited. I had mistakenly put in a hash mark after the word victim, so I fixed that. I took the
So it was a grammar? It was a
It
grammar?
was a grammar. I can't help myself. I'm like, I can't leave it there.
You don't want to see the things I post with my fat thumbs.
I actually couldn't remember, so I didn't want to shoot from the hip, and that's
Let me make a closing statement here, because we have now been on for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yep.
We absolutely loved the interactions that we had with Ryan McClintock as we knew him from the time that we had the interview. Again, none of us knows what goes on in individuals' personal lives. Every one of us has been affected by somebody in our sphere that has had, issues like this, whether it is, substance abuse, whether it is genetics, whether it's a medical condition. None of us knows. And remember, even though he has been charged with these crimes, he is still presumed to be innocent. I would implore all of you out there, if you truly serve the God of the universe, you believe in a creator that created us all equal, I'd invite you to pray, not like Stephanie Fetzer with a bunch of fancy words, but pray for Ryan. Pray that it can be discovered what's going on with him, that he can get the help that he needs. And pray for his family, especially Jessica. Pray for those that have been affected. Their entire lives have been turned upside down, and they're just beginning in this journey. So pray for justice, but pray for mercy and strength and support. While you're at it, pray for my buddy, Jim Harbin, who is going through quite the cancer battle. We talk several times a day. He is still wanting to be in the fight. Former Master Sergeant that still desires to kick butt and take names to protect the innocent, to provide justice. Pray for him. Pray for his comfort. Pray for his healing. Also pray for my good friend Ann Blatt, who recently underwent some surgery. But most of all, pray for your country and pray for your leaders. Those that I fight with all the time here, I'm still praying for them because I'm not the great know of everything, knower of everything. I don't know. Got to pray for the spirit and discernment, and ultimately the great judge of the universe is going to set every one of us right, including myself. Those things that I'm wrong, I will be dealt with. I just pray that I'll have mercy and that the Spirit would give me the ability to understand when I'm wrong and to change my ways and to make things right. What do you got?
Oh, I was just going to say your enemies would love that. Your enemies say this. God will deal with you, Dan Wilson. Just wait. Wait until God deals with you. But good words. I'm not trying to detract from those good words. Thanks to those of you who are still leaving your encouraging comments. And then also some of you are just keep challenging us, but that's okay. That's why we're here. Keep doing it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on this Liberty Without Compromise broadcast. We're doing it live, so sometimes it's a little rough around the edges, but I assure you, put a lot of work into it, and we're not just frothing at the mouth and saying whatever. There's a lot we're putting up there for you as facts, even in real time when you're asking questions. When that question was important, you're right. I'm going to put it up there for you to see in full transparency. Visit our website to watch past episodes and see those exclusive reports. That's at libertywithoutcompromise.com. And a simple, easy way to help support the program at least a little bit. There's some merchandise available there on the website. We see...
You're monetizing it. See, you guys have ulterior motives.
Oh, I guess.
You're just doing it for clicks.
I guess. libertywithoutcompromise.com. I don't know, man.
I know what I'm going to do.
If you guys like podcasts, you can listen and subscribe wherever you get your shows. And we're already looking forward to, I think, seeing you next Wednesday at 7 p.m.
I don't even want to think about it.
You don't want to think about it. It's too soon. What you want to do. You know what you want to do. What do you want to do? You just said, I know what I want to do.
Are you actually asking that question live?
I'm asking that. Oh.
I'm with a pretty woman. Of course, I want to do what every man wants to do that has a beautiful woman by his side. He wants to sit back in a leather chair with a good, stiff drink and a premium, preferably Nicaraguan tobacco rolled cigar. That's exactly what I'm going to do with a beautiful woman.
That sounds good.
Good night, everyone.
Keep leaving your comments on the way out. We'll put them up on the screen.